Well, Colorado, as usual, is going to be a swing state in the presidential election. You've heard that before, haven't you? Well, to find out where we're going to go, a couple good friends. Ross Kaminsky, you know him from 850 KOA, his blog on rossputin.com, and the American Spectator. God, that's pretty hoity-toity.
And I guess I should add, I'm writing once a month on the opinion pages for the Denver Post now as well.
Yeah, you're wonderful. And the poor guy who has the show before me, and by the way, I want to let he can come on my show. He never invites me on his show. Dominic Dezzutti, glad to have you.
Very nice to be here, John.
Also a blogger on Channel 4's website.
That's right.
All right. Let's talk about Trump for a second here.
All right.
Oh my God, what kind of freak show is this? And he will be in all. He's like Tancredo, but with a lot of money. How far does this go?
He has the money to make it go about as far as he wants to, but I really honestly believe at some point this doesn't become as interesting to him. I think right now it's...
Really? Absolutely. How does he not love this?
He loves this right now because there's enough time for him to still be the headline because people love the shiny ball effect of this train wreck. But at some point in the game, when the primaries actually become a real campaign, people are going to start paying attention to actually someone who they want to vote for. The polls don't matter right now. All the crazy stuff he's saying doesn't matter right now. It's just taking up airspace. Who it does matter to are those other people in the clown car on the Republican side of the coin that want some attention, that need some attention to become an underdog in those primaries, that they get none of that attention now because Donald Trump's taking up all the ink, all the airspace with whatever he's going to say next.
I'm happy that he is peaking now because he could easily have peaked later and done more damage. But here's my big worry, that he splits off after this, and you know it can only go in one direction, and he decides to go all Ross Perot and go join some other party. I could see that happening. Do you think he'll do it?
It's possible, but I would say he won't do it. I think that he made some noises about that to The Hill magazine, but then on Thursday afternoon he went to Texas and he was asked that same question. He sort of implied he wouldn't. I think he wouldn't want to go down in history as the guy who gave an election to Hillary Clinton after he said she's the worst Secretary of State ever, which is probably true. I don't think he wants that responsibility. I think it's all about his ego.
But the question is, can somebody with that kind of ego say no to that? Because he's going to have a hardcore anti-immigration, we want anything but, you know, what's out there. They're going to keep pushing him, and I don't know if he can say no. He's what's the word, maniacal?
Egomaniacal. There's probably a whole host of words we can grab the thesaurus. But I think there's going to be a limit when he gets to the idea, if it's going to be the third party option. When it's a general election thing, the whole populist points he's trying to hit are not the populist points with a general election that are going to be attractive. Ross Perot had that. He sounded like he made sense and people were on one side. Right now, he's appealing to a niche, a loud niche right now, but a niche of the Republican Party that is not going to be influential when we get to the general election. I think the whole sideshow, you know what this is? It's Vince McMahon of the Republican Party. It's going to make a lot of noise and knows how to get ratings, but in the end, it's not going to run anything.
And there's another point, and that is that Trump is not massively different from all of the other Republicans on his main issue of immigration right now. You know, he'll push some of these guys to the right, but almost none of the Republican candidates are going to come out for anything even vaguely like amnesty. So he's not even going to end up being that different. He's just going to be louder. And also, once Republican activists learn this guy's given a couple $100,000 to the Democratic Party, to Hillary Clinton, to Harry Reid, to Chuck Schumer, to all these people's campaigns, and that he's changed his view on everything from, you know, abortion, guns, everything. He's a fake conservative, and he's just not going to get there.
Denver Post showed a poll where Hillary is losing in Colorado. Losing against Bush, losing against Walker. They couldn't do all 28 guys, you know, because they can't do it. But by between, you know, 6 and 9 points, I was surprised by that. This is a state that once went for Bill, not the second time, and then twice for Obama. Were you surprised?
Here's the thing. I learned a long time ago, the polls that are trying to predict anything, even the trending right now, are absolutely meaningless. I think people are looking at what's in the news right now in a gut reaction. The campaigns haven't started. The ground game hasn't started at all. Whatever numbers show right now, frankly, I think are meaningless. Hillary Clinton is going to have a billion-dollar machine. She may or may not win, but that's not going to have anything to do with poll numbers that in July of 2015.
I slightly disagree. Early polls obviously don't mean all that much, but I think what these show is that the American people are not very interested in voting for someone that they perceive to be dishonest, and she is perceived to be dishonest. And Colorado is not, it's not New Jersey, it's not Illinois, it's not a place that's used to a lot of corruption, and not a place that wants to go with someone they perceive as corrupt.
It was interesting, the exit polls after Romney's loss, and that they asked 4 questions. Who do you think's better on the economy? Romney, by a lot. Who can work better on unemployment? Romney. Who shares your values more? Romney. I mean, by like 17 points, each one of these. Who do you think cares more about you? And it was Obama over Romney, I mean, by 40 points or something ridiculous. And Hillary does not have that gene that her husband has, that people just like you. The gene that Hickenlooper has, which I like. And for that core group in the middle, that 15% in the middle, that matters. She's going to have a hard time with that. But fortunately, she'll be running against a Republican, so she's got that for her.
I couldn't agree more. I think you're both right about the likability factor, and that is the weakness that is the Hillary campaign. However, realize that she's going to have over a year to overcome that, $1 billion,
and a server in her basement.
That's true. And if she chooses to employ the weapon that Al Gore never did, and Al Gore learned his lesson, he didn't let Bill Clinton out to really campaign for him. I think if Hillary says, you know what, I know you don't like me, but you love Bill, and I think she's Machiavellian enough to be like, you know what, fine. I don't care why you vote for me, just vote for me. It's because you think my husband's great. I don't have a problem with that.
It's funny because you like my husband. I don't like my husband.
Yeah.
What a weird marriage.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What will get me there? And anybody who's going to be running for the White House is going to be thinking about their career first, maybe Machiavellian about it. But I think if she chooses to unleash the bill, that might help the likability factor. But you're right about that. That's her problem.
Colorado is going to be one of a handful of swing states. We're big enough that we matter. We're small enough, and we have one large media market. The Denver metro area makes us very unique on these kind of fights. So the campaigns look at it and go, we can do this. What does a candidate need to do in a general to win in Colorado? What does a presidential candidate need to do? What's different about this state?
Well, one of the main things I think is a candidate needs to do what Cory Gardner did to win, which is smile. And Republicans are not always great at that.
We don't smile.
We don't smile.
Do you know why we don't smile? We know how to do arithmetic. And if you knew how to do arithmetic, you wouldn't smile either. We're in trouble.
And Hillary Clinton does smile, but it comes across as totally fake. She doesn't look like she means it. So in Colorado, I think you need to come across as genuine. And one thing I would add, I think there is something that Hillary could accomplish a bit by unleashing Bill Clinton, but not that much. A substantial percentage of people who were voting now had no experience with Bill Clinton, and I don't think he'll be as effective as he might have been, for example, when Al Gore was running for president. And I think also that the Republicans need to make this election about the future. And even though it's not entirely fair, that's why a Jeb Bush nomination really kind of scares me. Bush versus Clinton eliminates the argument that a vote for Clinton is a vote for the past just because of the Bush name. And I think if Republicans can make this about the future and make Hillary the candidate of the past, I think that's powerful.
What's so odd is that Bush reaches into the Hispanic community better than any other Republican running for president. His brother was able to gather some 44% of the Hispanic vote. I mean, it was just amazing compared to Romney, who couldn't do it at all. This is a growing demographic we have to get. I've talked about Bush fatigue. I don't want a third one. I mean, I get that. I worry about it because I think his brother was one of the most fiscally illiterate individuals we've ever had in that office. But I wonder who out of that circus, that circus car, has a shot of winning in the general. You've got to put Bush very high up on there. Who would win? Who would win in Colorado? Out of the current crowd?
Out of the entire clown car right now, I think Jeb Bush is the single candidate who can pull Colorado. Scott Walker, maybe for 5. First, you talk about the whole likability thing. I think he can come across. And so far, so far, he's been able to stay fairly centrist. And I think that's the other secret in Colorado. They don't like, the state, all of us, do not like candidates that are generally really hanging on one end of the spectrum or the other. They like somebody who at least appears centrist. Right now, Jeb still appears centrist. If he gets in a fierce fight, whether it's Cruz or somebody else in the primaries that pushes him right, that does what Santorum did to Romney and just doesn't let him be centrist, that'll be a problem, because that's how he'll get hammered in the state, just like other Republicans have before. But if he can stay centrist, he has a real shot here, and frankly nationwide. It just depends how far that collective car is going to push him to the right.
Who would you think is the best Republican to take Colorado over Hillary? Let's assume Hillary.
So, I mean, I understand that analysis of Jeb Bush, but he doesn't inspire me.
You are far from the swing voter that is needed here.
That's true. Well, short answer to your question, I think Scott Walker could do it. I think Marco Rubio could do it. And I think potentially even Rand Paul could do it, although I don't think he's going to get that far.
Who would be the Republican nightmare, by the way?
Other than Donald Trump?
Other than Donald Trump.
Well, actually, one other name that I like. I like Carly Fiorina a lot.
Actually, let's talk about that for a second. This woman is better on her feet than I have seen any Republican so far. I mean, talking about being quick on her feet, the opposite of Sarah Palin. You know, she's the real thing. And could you imagine what would happen if there was a Republican woman versus Hillary? I mean, I'm surprised that she hasn't gotten more traction yet.
I wouldn't be surprised if that traction increases, but what happened in my head is you're going through those names. I think you're absolutely right. If you had a Marco Rubio or a Carly Fiorina, imagine one of those teamed up with Jeb Bush as a viable vice presidential candidate. Instead of Sarah Palin, who could see Russia from her house, you had Carly Fiorina, who's an actual viable candidate, or Marco Rubio, who actually has government experience, really bringing in that Hispanic vote. That's a big deal. I know VP candidates don't bring everything, but they would be their own story, and something that I'm not sure Hillary could match on her side.
Hey, let's switch gears. We've only got a few minutes. Will the Republicans here find someone to take on Bennett? I mean, this is one of the two top vulnerable seats in the United States Senate, one of the few that could be a get for Republicans. And Republicans, do what we do so well, snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Who?
There's no one. You have
no one.
So one of your greatest isms around here is that the Republicans don't have a bench. We have a folding chair. You're absolutely right. And the folks that were in that folding chair have already said, no way. They can change their mind. If Mike Coffman changes his mind, possibly. There isn't a big enough name with the right money-raising power that can pull off what Cory Gardner did. You need to have that certain brand of magic. No one has it. As unlucky as Andrew Romanoff was with this political timing, that's as lucky as Michael Bennett is, because he will walk in with not a significant fight next year.
Usually it is a House member that's the stepping stone. I look at our House members. Buck is not going to be able to do it. I think Lamborn's not going to be able to do it. Tipton's not going to be able to do it. Kaufman could, but I guarantee you this. If Kaufman left the 6th, we Republicans would never win it back. I think it's like Perlmutter, and he knows that. I mean, he's just done an incredible job. So if not Mike, who?
Well, at some point I thought Cynthia Kaufman might try, but then that didn't happen. And I agree with Dominic's assessment. I don't see anyone who can do it. I don't see anyone who's got the star power and the money-raising power to do it. And I would say Kaufman has probably done the analysis of the 6th itself. But I also think if Mike Kaufman thought he was reasonably likely to win the Senate race, he would have run. And so I think that whoever they are who study this stuff think it may be not quite as easy to beat Bennett as you and I might think. And by the way, Sarah Palin can see Russia from my house. She didn't say it was a Saturday Night Live skit that put those words in her mouth.
The truth. What is with you and the truth? I get so tired of that. With a year and a half out from when Cory beat Udall, did anybody think that Udall was as beatable as he was? I would think right now Bennett, to me, feels more beatable than Udall did at the same time. That says a lot. The name I keep hearing whispered is George Brockler. After doing an incredible job on this case and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a death penalty, which of course Hickenlooper will commune. Why wouldn't he run?
I think George Proctor would be a formidable candidate, and he would be a very competitive candidate, and he would lose by about 5 points, and it would be a really good race. But
why would he lose by 5 points?
Because there isn't that much of a great distinction that he can pull between Michael Bennet. You have two likable white guys that are running for Senate.
We're out of time. Thank you. See you next week. Listen for me on KHOW.